Just to let everyone know, we skipped the ad.
Let me make something perfectly clear. This is not authentic Japanese or German food. It's authentic Bobby food. Emilio?
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish. I'm very excited to be exploring some food from the new seasons of King of the Hill. In fact, season 2 of the revival just premiered. In the last season, there was one episode particularly focused on Bobby's restaurant where he's marrying some interesting flavors from Japanese.
And by the way, I haven't seen Breaking Bad or Stranger Things yet. So that's that.
And German cuisine. Not two cuisines that I would imagine putting together, but it did sound interesting. So let's see how it tastes here on a good old-fashioned Binging with Babish.
Nice. He said old-fashioned. So I guess he's returning back to his roots.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. They've supported this channel for over 7 years. In fact, they were my first ever sponsor. Squarespace is the perfect platform to create your own site and accomplish your goals online, whether you're building a
That's nice. You have a long and loyal sponsor.
digital empire or just want people to give you hilarious episode ideas, Squarespace has you covered. I'm having a lot of fun making food ranking videos, and my favorite part is seeing what you guys suggest.
Not long as in long, but long as in loyal. You know what I mean.
So I built a site where you can submit your episode ideas. Go to rankedwithbabish.com and submit yours. Squarespace's brand new designer templates make it so easy to set up exactly what you need. To create one of your own, head to squarespace.com for a free trial and use code Babish for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
So are you German or Japanese?
I am neither German nor Japanese. Actually, I do have some German in me. I have no Japanese, but to be fair, I'm recreating stuff from a cartoon.
So we're safe.
I think we're perfectly safe. We didn't come up with this stuff. And the episode has a message about cultural appropriation, which you'll have to watch to find out. First up, we need to make a dipping sauce. I'm combining 1 cup of whole milk plain yogurt with
Sauces are always good.
two cloves of garlic, grated, and half a small shallot, also grated. We're also
Thinking of it, I haven't had a lot of chances to eat different kinds of sauces. But oh well.
going to add the juice from one particularly juicy lemon. We're going to want that acid to contrast all the richness and fishiness that we're going to be dealing with. And we're going to add a solid handful of chopped fresh dill. Make sure you finely chop it because you don't want long strands of dill in your dipping sauce. We're also seasoning to taste with kosher salt and freshly ground black pepper. Mix until
You never know. Somebody might want to get a bite of that crunch. I know I want some of that.
fully homogeneous. And to bring a little bit of Japanese flair, I'm going to season it with some furikake. This is a mixture of salt, sugar, toasted nori, and toasted sesame seeds, all of which are going to be welcome flavors in this situation. Give it a taste for seasoning and ideally let it sit in the fridge overnight to let the flavors get to know each other. Next up, the herring itself. And I'm sorry I hit record a little late on this one, so I don't have the actual herring coming out of the jar, but it is wine marinated jarred herring. Maybe one of my least favorite foodstuffs in the world. Let's see if tempura can save it. So I'm patting the fish dry and then dusting it in potato starch before dropping it in a very standard tempura batter. Dip the fish in that mixture and drop it straight into...
Let me guess what's in that batter. I guess flour, salt and pepper, egg, And milk?
Some preheated 350 Fahrenheit neutral flavored oil. These are gonna fry for 2 to 4 minutes. They're not gonna get deeply golden brown, this being tempura batter, but they should pick up some color. Evacuate those onto a wire rack set in a rim baking sheet and sprinkle some furikake on them while they're still hot. All there is left to do is plate it up and try it. I'm gonna sprinkle a little extra furikake on the fish and the dipping sauce itself, and there you have it, an easy and interesting appetizer from Robata Chain. But
Looks great. I wonder if it tastes great.
let's see how it tastes, and the answer is not very good. I'm not a big herring.
For me, the answer is yes. It's fish, and it should taste good. But I don't know. I think I haven't had herring yet. The closest one I remember is mackerel.
Fan, so don't trust me, but it was extremely fishy and mushy from being both marinated and then cooked again. So not my favorite.
I've never actually had a real reason to say this, but dang it, Bobby.
For us, ang snack na to. Chewy, 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 sweet. Sarap nito. Sarap ng snack.
Actually had a real
It would be a great food for quick snack.
reason to say this, but dang it, Bobby.
Next up, the thing I'm most excited about, yuzu wurst sausage, something Bobby describes as a bratwurst with pickled daikon, rice, and yuzu. To make the sausage itself, I have 3 pounds of boneless pork shoulder that I'm gonna cube into 1-inch pieces. I'm setting all these on parchment paper set in a rim baking sheet and throwing them in the
Did you see that? That's a lot of meat.
freezer for 20 to 30 minutes until they're really firm around the edges but not totally frozen through. I'm gonna do the same with 1 pound of pork fat back, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's pork, it's fat, and it's back. And it too is getting cubed into 1-inch pieces and put in the freezer. So too is some veal. I couldn't find some whole pieces of veal, so I have 2 pounds of veal stew meat that I'm gonna cube up and put
I guess that's deer. Deer meat? Yeah, I guess.
in the freezer, along with my meat grinder, which is about to get strapped to my stand mixer. Now, Bobby does describe the sausage as stuffed with rice. So I've got some sushi rice that I've steamed here that I'm sprinkling with a little bit of sushi rice vinegar and kosher salt and letting cool completely before adding it to my sausage. I hope I don't have to explain why you don't add hot rice to cold, raw sausage. Next up, the daikon. I have some pickled Japanese daikon here that I'm going to
Because it will cook, but not properly cooked. I guess.
finely chop. I don't want big pieces of daikon. I don't want it to be crunchy. I just want it to bring the flavor. So nice fine chop, about a cup's worth. And now it's time, as Jen
It's a special kind of radish. Or a different kind of radish. The radish I know is white.
Z likes to say, to get to grind, to hit the grind, to, what do they say? First, I'm passing all this pork and veal and pork fat back through my grinder's coarsest plate, which is going to give us a coarse, pebbly grind. Then, we're putting that ground meat back in the freezer for 15 minutes to firm up again and passing it through our
Fat makes grinding smoother and quicker.
finest grinder plate, giving us a nice, smooth farce for our bratwurst. Now it's time to season and emulsify that farce. So, in the bowl of a stand mixer, I'm combining my
Like ground meat for burger.
ground meat with 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, 1 tablespoon of ground white pepper, 1 teaspoon of mace, 2 teaspoons ground ginger, 2 teaspoons of dried mustard, 1.5 teaspoons of
Wait. I knew it. Let's just And we go again.
Freshly grated nutmeg. Nutmeg is an essential spice to the bratwurst experience. I'm gonna add 1 egg yolk just for some richness and structure, and for even more richness,
See, much better quality. Not 144p, but 240p.
just 1 cup of ice cold heavy cream. And I'm starting with about 2 tablespoons of yuzu juice. I don't want to overwhelm with yuzu flavor. I want it to play nice with everything, so I'm starting small. We can always adjust later on. Last but not least, we're gonna beat some crushed ice into the farce. So I've got some ice that I'm pulsing in the blender until it's about the texture of an icy, and adding about a half cup to our farce mixture. Then we're beating this on high speed for 1 to 3 minutes until it lightens in color, gets sort of smooth and smeary. Once emulsified,
Woo! That was a good mix.
I'm gonna add my sushi rice. I don't wanna overprocess the rice and break it up too much. Then it's time to give it a taste test. So I'm gonna grab a little ball of the meats, I'm gonna pat it out into a patty, fry it in a frying pan with a little bit of vegetable oil until it's golden brown on both sides.
I knew it. It was looking like a making of a patty. Burger patty.
And see how this thing tastes. And the answer is really fantastic. The yuzu actually plays very nicely with the warming spices, and the daikon brings a wonderful acidic hit. But I don't think it's yuzu-y enough, so I'm going to yuzu some yuzu kosho. This is a yuzu paste that's been seasoned with salt and spices, so let's emulsify that together, see what that tastes like, and it's pretty grand. It's got a really nice balance of flavors that all work surprisingly well together. The only thing that kind of sucks is the rice. It feels like a filler, and it kind of screws.
I like this. He's experimenting as he goes. Just like me. So you know what to do. Subscribe to him. Then subscribe to me on my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitch.
Up the structure of the sausage, so I would recommend leaving the rice out. I'm gonna dump this farce out onto a parchment-lined rim baking sheet, put it back in the freezer for another 10-15 minutes to firm it up, and then it's time to stuff our sausages. I have some natural hog casings here that I'm soaking in ice water to rinse off the salt. Now all we need to do is thread it onto our sausage stuffer like an endless condom. Then once we got enough on there, snip off the end, tie a knot, and poke a hole. This is to prevent air from being pushed by the farce through the grinder into the sausage and inflating it, not unlike a balloon. Then it's time to start diligently stuffing the farce back into the grinder and using it to fill our sausages. An act best accomplished with 3 hands. It's really hard to grind sausage by yourself. So
Slowly but surely, it's coming off great.
I recommend recruiting a friend or loved one or enemy if you want to know your enemy. I'm doing something stupid, which is
Hey, that's a great idea. It might be the way for enemies to get back together and be friends again.
is twisting the sausages as I go. You shouldn't do that.
Just watch them carefully at what they are doing. Be careful with how you handle your food.
I don't know why I did it. I truly don't remember my thought process. I must have been high. But either way, you want to twist the sausages in opposing directions. That helps prevent them from unfurling when you cook them. But that shouldn't be an issue because now we're gonna let these sit uncovered in the fridge overnight. This is going to dry out the casings a little bit and help prevent them from splitting on the grill. Now these sausages are gonna be cooked twice, basically. We're gonna start by poaching them in beer. I have some wonderful Japanese Asahi beer, one of my favorites, which I'm gonna bring to 180
Woo! More liquids, but less water. I guess it's fine.
degrees Fahrenheit and poach the sausages gently for 15 to 25 minutes, depending on the girth of your sausage. You basically want it to reach 155, 165 degrees Fahrenheit at its thickest point. Once it's there, take it out, let it cool completely, cover it, and put it in the fridge for up to 3 days before consuming. Now into one of the central plot points of the episode, the binchotan charcoal, which Bobby is insistent on using for authenticity.
How do you know if a food is authentic?
I don't know how to define food as authentic. I do know how to define it as inauthentic, and that's what all this stuff is, because it's a mishmash of culture. So I have some bichotan that I'm placing in a charcoal chimney, and placing that directly
And that is what you call experimentation.
above a high-powered burner. This is going to ignite all the charcoal throughout as it goes for 20-25 minutes until all the coals are bright red and there's white ash forming on the outside. I'm transferring this to our Bichotan grill, enjoying the slow-mo and all the particles you can see. I'm turning on my commercial-grade ventilation system because I'm doing this indoors. Do not do this indoors. And prepping my sausage. Doing a little food styling by rubbing it down sensually with some vegetable oil. It's going to help it brown up a little bit more evenly. And then I'm cutting it into lengths. It's a little curved, so I'm cutting out the curved bit.
It's sausage, okay? Not something else.
Which, you know, those will be little snacks for me. But the robata skewers that Bobby presents are little straight segments of sausage, so that's what I'm trying to imitate. And I'm going to impale these sausages on 2 skewers. This is going to allow me to rotate the sausages reliably. Otherwise, they might just spin on the single skewer and you might not be able to grill them evenly. Once you got your sausages skewered, it is time for the moment of truth. That's right. I am pitting charcoal against propane. I'm gonna grill up some of these sausages on the Bichotan charcoal, but I'm also gonna grill some sausage over propane to find out once and for all which one's better. As you can see, on the left I have the Bichotan and on the right the propane. The Bichotan browned it a little better. There's less carbon buildup on the outside. That's one of the great things about Bichotan, is that it burns very cleanly and it doesn't flare as much as normal charcoal or propane. As you can see, the propane sausage has some black buildup, some soot on the outside from flare-ups. So let's give them a try. The charcoal one is very, very good. It does have a nice, clean taste. I am indeed tasting the meat rather than the heat. But the Bichotan is really something special. I prefer the Bichotan. It's crispier on the outside. It's got a really deep carbonized flavor from that charcoal.
You know what we got here? Charcoal is better most of the time. That's it.
Charcoal. It's for sure a dirtier meat experience, but it's one that I prefer. But I'm just one guy. So I'm gonna bring on my dear friends Sawyer and Brad to taste test these 2 sausages and point out their favorite. 3, 2, 1. Wow, it takes all kinds. It would seem as though Sawyer prefers to taste the meat and not the heat. Last but not least, something I'm morbidly curious about, sauerkraut ice cream. This is apparently a thing. I found multiple recipes online that seem to have their roots in German cuisine. People describe it as having a sort of buttermilk tang to it, which does sound nice, but I just can't imagine the texture of sauerkraut being very good in ice cream. First up, I'm gonna make some dessert sauerkraut as the topping, and I have 2 big, beautiful, pendulous red cabbages that I'm gonna peel the outer leaves off of, cut off the stems, cut them into quarters, core them, and then thinly shred them on a
Beautiful cabbage. Is it grown on volcanic soil?
mandolin. You're probably best off doing this with the slicer attachment in your food processor or with just a knife. The mandolin ended up being kind of cumbersome. Once you got all that finely shredded, it's time to enkrautify it. But I'm going to add some sort of dessert elements in the form of thinly julienned orange peel. I think this is going to bring a nice contrast to the caraway, and some freshly grated ginger. And here's a fun kitchen hack.
What? Wait. Did I see something? No?
Freeze your ginger. It makes it easier to peel and much easier to grate, and it keeps beautifully in the freezer. I'm also going to add about a tablespoon of kosher salt and a tablespoon of caraway seeds. Next, we need to massage the salt into the cabbage to get it to release its liquid. So thoroughly massage it for about 3 full minutes until it is dripping wet, and then it's ready to ferment. So we're going to put that into our sanitized fermentation vessel of choice, load it up with the cabbage, press it down evenly, and then we want to weigh it down. So I'm placing a sheet of parchment paper inside the jar and weighing it down with a couple of fermentation weights. Then to let this ferment, you can use any number of methods. You could cover the jar with a couple layers of cheesecloth and secure it with a rubber band, or this jar has a hole in the center into which you can shove a fermentation device. It's actually a kind of valve that only lets air out and not in. Then we're letting this guy sit in a cool, dark place like your basement for at least 10 days, up to 4 weeks. The longer you go, the more sour the kraut will become. So I'm only going for about 2 weeks because I don't want it to be super duper sour. I still want it to have a cabbage essence to it. Now onto the actual custard. In a large saucepan, we are combining 3 cups of whole milk and 2
Nice ice cream.
cups of heavy cream. Then in a separate heat-proof bowl, we're combining 2 large eggs with 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. I'm passing mine through a fine mesh sieve because it's a little clumpy. I'm also gonna add a heaping teaspoon of white miso paste. I wanted to add some Japanese flair to this sauerkraut ice cream. It's gonna be rich and savory and salty. Now we wanna beat this egg sugar mixture together until it's completely smooth. Bring the milk and cream mixture up to a bare simmer, take it off the heat, bring it over to the bowl, secure the bowl with a moist kitchen towel that's gonna keep it in place while we whisk it constantly and slowly ladle in the hot milk cream mixture. We don't want to scramble the eggs, so you got to start very, very slowly to temper them. By the time you've added about half, you can move much more quickly. Then we're going to add this mixture back to the remaining milk and cream, whisking constantly just to be safe. Set this back over medium-low heat and cook.
Because the heat, if introduced quickly, will cook the eggs. And we will have scrambled eggs.
For anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes until it's thickened to the point of nappe. Now, once I've killed the heat, I'm gonna add about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I think that's gonna play really nicely with the tang coming from the sauerkraut. Speaking of which, it's time to add some sauerkraut to our ice cream, which is a sentence I did not think I was going to say, at least in this lifetime. I'm doing 2 batches here, one utilizing sauerkraut juice, so we keep a nice smooth texture. The other, I've got some freshly squeezed dry sauerkraut that I'm finely chopping into coconut-sized shreds. And the other one, I'm just dumping that sauerkraut right on in there. Let's whisk that in and give it a taste. And I'm pleased to report that this might be the very best vanilla ice cream I've ever had. I'm not crazy about the texture of the kraut, but it brings a wonderful tanginess. Indeed, a buttermilk-like twang to the situation, and the miso just makes the vanilla all the more rich and salty and wonderful.
Kind of like the sour ice cream. Sour cream ice cream.
Cover it up with plastic wrap pressed directly against the custard, put it in the fridge and let it cool overnight, and then dump it into your ice cream maker and allow it to churn for the manufacturer's recommended period of time until it looks like frozen yogurt or soft serve, at which point we're going to dump it into our freezing vessel of choice, smooth it out, and let it sit in the freezer at least overnight to finish the freezing process. Now it's time to examine our kraut. It's been about 2 weeks and it smells like farts. This is normal. There's a very farty stage in the fermentation of sauerkraut, but as you can see, there wasn't nearly enough liquid in my sauerkraut, so the top half wasn't submerged and it kind of dried out a little bit. This could potentially be dangerous, but if there's no fuzzy mold or really death-like smells clinging to it, it's probably fine. Then again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm just a guy. So take everything that I'm saying with a big old grain of kosher salt, please. I think it's safe, so I'm gonna give it a taste, and it's interesting. It's not nearly as tangy as most sauerkraut, because
It's covered. As long as nobody touches it, I think it's fine.
needs more time to lacto-ferment, and it has a definite presence of orange and caraway, which are interesting and kind of good. So I think they might work in our ice cream context. Let's see what it's like all together. We have our whole sauerkraut ice cream here, scoop's pretty nice, which I'm going to top with our quote-unquote dessert kraut. Let's give it a taste, and I gotta say, it might be the best vanilla ice cream I've ever had, but the texture's way off. I do not like the sort of squishy crunch that you get with whole sauerkraut in the situation. So, for the sauerkraut juice ice cream, let's try making some sweet sauerkraut topping. Grabbing about a half cup of the kraut and I'm pressing it extremely dry. Then over on the stovetop in a small sauté pan, I'm combining half cup each granulated sugar and water. Bring that up to a simmer and dropping in the dried kraut. then cooking for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes until most of the water is cooked off and the mixture's thickened and the bubbles are prolific and small. That means that it's mostly sugar at this point. Then I'm shake drying the kraut and dumping it directly into a bowl of granulated sugar to make it kind of like candied orange peel. All right, let's try it with our smooth sauerkraut ice cream. This time I'm gonna add some black sesame seed for looks and flavor and top it with our candied.
Bet that's tastes good. Maybe it tastes great even.
Kraut. There you have it, an interesting looking dessert. Let's see if it's an improvement on the original. And it truly is some of the best ice cream I've ever had. The big takeaway here is to add miso to your ice cream, especially vanilla ice cream. It really makes it rich and salty and savory on top of super sweet and light. And the sauerkraut genuinely brings a nice acidic hit, almost like a buttermilk. I might use buttermilk just straight up if I were you, but then again, you don't get to tell your friends you made sauerkraut ice cream, and isn't that what making sauerkraut ice cream is all about? As far as fantasy cartoon food goes, 2 for 1 is a really good score, so nice job, Bobby. And thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a while since I've done an old-fashioned binging. I'm really excited to go watch the new season of King of the Hill and find out if there's any more food worth recreating. If there's anything you want to see on future episodes of Binging, shout it out in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you next time here with Babish. Binging with Babish. That's what this is. Binging with Babish.
Thanks again to my long-term partner Squarespace for sponsoring this episode. Be sure to head to rankedwithbabish.com to submit your ideas for what you think I should rank next, or who you want to see as a guest. While you're there, admire the smooth template designed by Squarespace. If you feel stuck creating your website, Squarespace can definitely help. In just one click, you can choose from curated color palettes and fonts that can be applied to any template. You can create an entire site in just a few minutes. Their SEO tools help your site reach its audience, and you can use Squarespace to help manage your invoices for commerce, or even generate your business name. The tools are all easy to use and at your fingertips. To create a site of your own, head to squarespace.com for a free trial and use code BABISH for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
At the end of the day, did we honor both cultures equally or offend them equally?
We didn't do anything, Brad, because again, none of this was my idea. Also, there's no Japanese elements of this ice cream, so I added some, which does in fact make it my responsibility.
Now what next?